Welcome to UNCAGED, the show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're joined by Caroline Hayward. Hey, Caroline, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you, Caroline. Caroline and I have actually gotten to know each other over the last couple of years. Caroline is the founder and CEO of ChairX. Their tagline is discussing the business of boards. She looks after chair people and really kind of the evolution of board activity and some of the board issues and providing community and advice in that area. And we'll go through some of the amazing things that the ChairX network is doing in a second. But before we get there, Caroline, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
My career? Well, I suppose I'm a serial entrepreneur, actually. I did an article on the greypreneur the other day, which actually I haven't shared yet. But yes, there's quite a few, people of any age sort of starting up and running businesses. But I was previously running an executive search firm in tech and software. So I did that for a long time. And we recruited for all like big, mainly American brands, actually, recruiting VP sales, chief execs, Geschäftsführer, VP, CTOs, etc. And so that was my sort of initial business. And
I mean, executive search is such a huge industry, and I certainly can see how that kind of opens up to something like ChairX. And being a ChairX myself, I know the value of your network. And so tell us a little bit about what you've built over the last couple of years.
Okay, so basically, when I was running my search firm, which is called Hayward Associates, very inspired name, I had a chairman's network which was basically a kind of PR arm. We'd host events, we'd host private lunches, typically at Claridge's, which you may know is a very smart and expensive hotel in the West End of London. And we bring sort of 50 or 60 senior execs together for a very long, very expensive business lunch. With tech speakers from all over the world, essentially. So that was fun. And then about 5 years ago, I kind of got a bit disillusioned with exec search, another story, and thought, right, maybe I'll just run Chairman's Network, as it was called. So I re-engineered it, mainly while swimming, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because it's when you're swimming and it's boring, you're actually kind of releasing the brain to sort of rethink how it could work in practice. So most of what you see today is actually come from, lengths thinking, right, that'll work, why wouldn't that work, etc., etc.
I've participated in a whole bunch of stuff that you guys have done, and it's always really insightful. And, my experience has been that you have this incredible network that you've built up. You have key topics that you're highlighting and bringing groups together to discuss, sometimes outside speakers. Tell me a little bit more about the activities of ChairX and what you guys are doing.
Well, actually, probably best to start with why people join. Essentially, it is discussing the business of boards, which is our tagline. But people join for probably 4 reasons, really. Thought leadership. So we've got a lot of experts that can share their expertise, which is great. The learnings, as you guys say, we call it, lifelong education from those experts. The discussions is where you kind of build up the relationship with people. So, I mean, we've never met actually, but we kind of know each other because we've been on some sessions together and we've had a few Zooms. And then on the back of that, it's the business connections and the business networking. So it's sort of building trust in a relationship, but it's not a sales platform. It is a connecting platform. You follow up with people, see if you can get a win-win. And that's essentially how it works in practice.
Caroline, I mean, the name is so interesting. ChairX. Tell me a little bit about how you evolved to ChairX and really what the mission is there.
It's a bit too interesting, actually, because the X is sending our emails into spam boxes, which is a and I don't think SpaceX has the same problem for some reason. Yeah, so basically we were called Chairman's Network until about 6 months ago. And I don't have to say it to you or anybody, we had to take the man out, basically. It took a long time to kind of figure out the name, the brand, the website, you know, the rebranding, the whole thing, but finally got there. Really love it because you can now be a member of ChairX. It's much snappier, it's kind of modern. Well, it was all kind of came to an edge because I was about to go to a sort of top women's networking event. And I thought, I can't walk in. I can't go in. I can't go in as Chairman's Network. They're going to absolutely annihilate me. So that's what brought it all to a head. So I'm very thankful to them for having that because it kind of focused the mind. And actually now I think we're much more sort of fit for purpose going forward, really, in terms of, you know, it's scalable. It's a brand that we can, that means something in most countries.
Yeah, I love it. I really, really love it. And Caroline, I've seen the evolution and the journey that you've been on with it. And it just is absolutely the right name at this moment. But I mean, I would say that the issues that boards face are not letting down in any respect. There seems to be new challenges every day. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that your network is really focused on these days. What are the things that are concerning people or people are excited about?
Yeah, well, we're trying to keep either something cutting edge, something different, something that boards and the leadership team need to know. So it's probably not rocket science from where you guys are. I mean, ESG, huge, constantly looking for different aspects of that. So we've got a number of speakers that people follow that do talk about that. The whole diversity issue is also huge. We're lucky we've got a lot of high-powered women in the network. You know, it's the balancing up time with all the boards in the States. You're ahead of us. I think Norway's ahead of us. We're still behind the curve a bit. It is getting better. But we're mainly focusing on SME businesses where it's, you know, there's more, still a way to go actually on that. So those are probably the top things. And then it's about board dynamics, actually. Yeah. So we have speakers that just specialize in board dynamics, coming in and sharing what's changed. There's a lot around emotional intelligence. That's the current big thing as well. You know, you can't be a traditional old-fashioned chair anymore. You've really got to be tuned into all the different, you know, all the different dynamics of the people on the board and what their are, not just how they present themselves in the meeting, but what their kind of backstories are and what challenges they're dealing with as well. So ER and all the variations of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, no, it's been a fascinating moment. I mean, I think there's such an evolution of what a board is for public companies as well as small to medium-sized businesses that perhaps aren't public at this stage, and the dynamics of how those boards actually operate, their purpose, how they interact with the operation. We're living in a moment where things are very, very fluid in that respect. And certainly the discussions that I've been part of as part of the ChairX network have been very, very helpful and very insightful. But I mean, the last couple of years have been interesting, Caroline. You know, you mentioned that you and I haven't met. I feel like I know you because I feel like, you know, we've spoken so many times on all of these network calls. And I guess it really reflects the fact that over the last couple of years during the pandemic, things have really shifted virtually. And I was curious to hear your thoughts on how the pandemic has impacted the activities of your own organization, as well as really the activities of boards.
Well, for us, actually, it's been huge because, of course, we were a physical network, 3 or 4 years ago? Yeah. It wasn't sustainable really physically because I've only got so many hours in the day. And potentially it was a hosted model, you know. I'm also an Airbnb super host, so there's a bit of Airbnb in here too. And so it could easily be a host, and it could still easily be a hosted model, but basically it's predominantly on Zoom because, I mean, you're in Miami, I'm in the UK. Right. We've got so many international members. that we can't come away from Zoom now, but that all happened since the first lockdown, since COVID. So for us, we were one of the lucky people that was able to pivot. Within a week, we had all our events online. We were then able to scale up internationally. So we've got member states, Australia, across Europe, all dialing in to the same discussions. And it actually gives us quite an interesting dynamic around, you know, one subject, but international views. I don't know whether anybody else can do that, because we did supply chain, for example, when it was all very discombobulated, one of my favorite words. We would have someone in the States, someone in Europe, people in the UK, they're getting a whole kind of global view on what was happening on supply chain. So I think that's potentially something that we could really be unique to us, actually.
Yeah, I would say that some of those international moments during COVID with the network, with the ChairX network, were extremely helpful because I think that, you know, when we were all so isolated, there was this kind of feeling that we knew what was going on, but we really didn't know what was going on. You know, and many of the people that are in the network are so accomplished, right? They've worked all over the world, whether they're based in the UK or not. They certainly have worked everywhere and done business internationally. And so kind of bridging that goal, those areas was particularly interesting. But I mean, Caroline, we're now heading into the back half of 2022 and we're looking into 2023. Tell me what's on the docket for ChairX.
Well, of course, we've just done the name change, so that's been quite a lot more work. In fact, it's kind of like something you wouldn't do unless you had to, because it's a lot of work. I've just spent August doing the sort of brand and the IP because we did a session on that, gave me a massive list of to-dos. I'm learning all of it all the time. My list is constantly building. I've just re-engineered the appointments piece because I didn't think what we had was working. So I've just almost finished that. I've got to get Q4 events finished. We're doing 100 events a year. I've got doing 8 a month, as I think you know, Van. So that's a lot of, it's a series of small events and they're all real time. So none of it's recorded, as you know. And that's why we don't have these kind of discussions in the public domain, because so many of it is Chatham House, private discussion. So anyway, I need to finish the events piece. I've actually got a Christmas party, which I'm almost done with. I don't know whether you're in the UK.
Send me an invite.
You'll get the invite. And that's going to be great because, like I said earlier, you and I haven't met, but we feel we know each other really well. And that's the same for my members. So I think it's going to be loads of fun because people will actually be meeting people they think they know, but actually they don't, or they haven't met. So there's that to organize. And then re-engineering sales and marketing. We do a kind of very sort of personal outreach process. As you know, I think you were on the receiving end of one. Which does work very well, but you know, there's a way to go when you want to try and scale up, need funding. I mean, you know, you're an entrepreneur as well. You know what it's like. There's a ton of stuff to do.
Well, I mean, I think it's an extremely valuable solution, and certainly all those activities bode well for the continued growth and need for this. And it sounds like you're going to be doing some real world things as well, which is great to hear. You know, kind of finding that balance between the Zoom and the in-person is always key. If somebody wanted to learn more about what you and ChairX are doing, where should they go to find out more?
Well, it's ChairX.network is the website, ChairX.network, spelled like that. Or Chairman's Network still takes you there right now, actually. And actually, there's some videos, some videos on me. So if we can have this one as well, that would be great. But all the links kind of tell you how it works. Plus, the events are public; anybody can see the listings there. The actual delegate lists are transparent. Once you've registered, you can see who else is coming to the session. You can check them out. So it's kind of truly international networking. And I think probably what I've done is sort of formulate a way of making it fun and interesting without being onerous. And that's probably the piece that we've done, actually.
Yeah, well, kudos to you and all the work that you've done to build it up to what it is already. And I'm excited to see where ChairX will go in the near future. We've been speaking with Caroline Hayward. She is the founder and CEO of ChairX, the international collaborative business network connecting chairs, CEOs, non-executive directors, advisory boards, and board directors across the UK, but definitely also internationally. Caroline, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you very much, Bant. Good to see you again.